Am I hurting your image doing this
Carl
way?
could wear those pants, you could show that.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Swag. Swag.
You right, if you can wear that.
We are the Strivers Row.
Hi, I'm Alicia Harris.
Hi, I'm Zora Howard.
What's up, Carvin's Lassant?
Greetings, Joshua Bennett.
Miles Hodges.
I'm Jasmine Mans.
My first memory of poetry was the first time I ever wrote poetry.
Teacher.
I was in 5th grade, and our teacher was saying, okay, like, we're gonna start a new lesson, and we're gonna start a lesson on poetry. And so she wrote the word sonnet on the board, and she was like, this is the pinnacle of, poetry in English, and William Shakespeare wrote sonnets, and no one else can basically write sonnets, right? And I was like, oh, I can do that. And she was like, no. And I was like, no, like, I can do that. And she was like, no, this is like super hard. People work their whole lives to write poetry. It's not something that you just wham, bam, wake up one morning and do. And I was like, no, but I can do that. So during math class, I sat and I wrote my first sonnet. And it's my first poem. And then in recess, I gave it to her. And I was like, sonnet. And she was like, did you write this? I was like, yeah. And she was like, how did you? And I was like, I don't know. And then from that moment on, I kind of was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. It wasn't something, it was just something that, was already on the inside. And then a prompt was, just helped me recognize, that is what you're supposed to do. It was kind of just, seeing yourself in the mirror and being like, oh, yeah, that's me.
I was in high school, and I was just a very basketball playing R&B singer, egotistical guy, and I went to this open mic, and I was just like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying, this is my song, it's called Why, you know what I mean? And I started singing these songs, and I'm doing this choreography, and it was all good and everything, and then I sat and I was watching the poetry, and I was like,
yeah.
And then I immediately was just struck by it, and then I just went home and I wrote every day for 3 years straight. There wasn't a day that I did not write, I promise you. For 3 years straight. And I remember, I don't even know what my first poem was. I was really angry. I was really angry in a lot of my poems in the beginning. Oh, let me take you on a journey through my eyes. Stupid, constant fights, the tears, the cries. You get the message when you listen to these rhymes. So it was my first memories of poetry. I was so angry.
It used to be like,
yeah.
He is so whack.
So
he was strong. He was strong. And he's gotten so much nicer and made so many tangible improvements as a writer in the last 3-4 years. It's wild.
It's just about balance too, right? Because Carvin always had power.
Oh no, his voice is undeniable.
And we got the same forefathers too, right? I feel like the dudes we saw coming up, huh? Yeah. And then we didn't know how to be huh. We didn't know how to whisper yet, Miss Annunziata, 6th grade. We wrote poems in response to Aida.
The musical?
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
The musical. I love that.
Pretty,
I sang in 7th grade. I had did a whole scene. It was I grew up in your hometown. It was beautiful, guys.
That's hot.
Yeah,
we never had this conversation.
Yeah,
that's dope. Yeah, I don't know. It's the first time I ever felt remotely cool in my entire life. She asked people to read out loud. I stood up. People were like, "Wow, that was really good." And I was like, "What?" No one's gonna beat me up. I don't know. It was cool. And that quite literally is the first time I was like, I'm good at something, and then years later I returned to it in a different vein, I guess, but that's the first memory I have.
Well, I don't remember specifically. I know I didn't have any kind of formal academic push into poetry, just because I've been so kind of angry at the educational system for a very long time, and so I didn't have one specific teacher who kind of chauffeured me into spoken word or poetry as a whole. My mother, I guess, claims that I was a poet since birth. She says I literally was 3 or 4 walking around talking about the sky and the clouds and the cold and stuff like that when I was 6. It was an opportunity to be able to tell my own story. Kind of served as therapy in many ways. Taught me how to revolve in my own skin. Kind of move in actually kind of black spaces, which was an important part for me growing up, and that just kind of carried on, and brought me here with this family of mine.
When I was little, I don't know what particular age this was, but I know that I always had a fascination for sharpened pencils, new pencils, and clean, fresh notebooks. And like my mom would buy me school notebooks, and she would get so pissed because I would always sharpen the pencils and write in the books before like school started. And like I remember having her buy me this book, and I remember the book, it was red because I thought it was like a notebook diary type thing when it really was like a planner. And it was difficult to write because it was separate by month and like I would only have a little bit. And I remember just bringing the poem in the kitchen while my mother was cooking and reading it to her. And the only thing she said was, just go back and write more. Like she never really responded. But she just said, go and write more. And I don't remember what age I was, but I remember the kitchen and this red book. So that's my earliest memory.